Naming prejudice. Here's what a Kansas pastor told his Sunday congregation. It's disturbing. Listen.
They shall be put to death. That's what happened in Israel. That's why homosexuality wouldn't have grown in Israel. It tends to limit conversions. It tends to limit people coming out of the closet. Oh, so you're saying that we should go out and start killing them? No. I'm saying the government should. They won't, but they should.
So that would be a just government that goes out and kills a minority group. And then a North Carolina pastor had this to say. Take a look at this.
I figured a way to get rid of all the lesbians and queers, but I couldn't get it passed through Congress. Build a great, big, large fence, 150 or 100 mile long, put all the lesbians in there, fly over and drop some food. Do the same thing with the queers and the homosexuals, and have that fence electrified till they can't get out. Feed them, and you know what? In a few years, they'll die out.
So let's talk about this. Call us now with your questions and reactions at 855-DR-Drew5. Joining me first off here is singer Sam Harris. You might remember him as the winner of Star Search. Today he is a gay rights activist. Now, Sam, you compare some of these public speakers to other charismatic leaders that people have kind of gone along with in the historical past.
Well, one comes to mind.
Which one
I mean,
is that?
when you hear somebody talk about putting somebody behind an electric fence to let them die, does that conjure up any memories?
Right, let your fans, and then, well, now I heard of a government. They also heard one of the preachers say that the government should go ahead and kill people of a certain minority group. Just kill them. That would be a just government.
I don't know.
Now, by the way, I am a huge advocate of the First Amendment. I think they have a right to say whatever,
Yes.
but we must speak up about it and think about these things. Don't
Do
you?
we think that the Founding Fathers intended for the First Amendment to actually be something to incite violence and murder? I don't think so. There's a big difference. And when this man is talking about killing off a faction of people, obviously it makes, especially in an electrified fence, it certainly makes us think of concentration camps and Hitler and Jews. And you look at Germany in that time, and who were, you know, had fallen on hard economic times, were losing their property, were confused, they felt their culture was slipping, and here comes this charismatic man who says, here's who you can blame it on. Here's whose fault it is. And people love to have a common enemy. And, you know, the blacks are off the table, thank God. Now we move down to the gays.
Well, I think but the logic, though, is that any minority group can be their rights limited by a majority simply because. Isn't that really what's underlying all this?
First of all, civil rights should never be dictated by vote or by mob rule. The Civil Rights Act never would have passed if it had been put up for a public vote. That's why we have courts. That's why we have, hopefully, wise lawmakers and legislation. Equal rights, you can't be more equal in one state than another state. It's all crazy.
I agree with you. It gets complicated, though. I think people want to lay this conversation at the foot of religious activism and fundamentalism, which I would imagine we'd be hearing from callers out there who are Christian and who are very concerned about anything involving hate. Let's go right out to phones. Let's go to Becky in Tennessee. Becky, what do you got for me?
Hi, I was part of the born-again Christian movement when I was a teenager, and then came out as a lesbian at the age of 22, was then put on church discipline, and so I've been part of the part where, you know, where people treated me with hate. And I just want to say, Sam Harris, I think he's a wonderful role model, and Dr. Drew, thank you for having a show like this on TV.
So thank you for Becky for just ringing in here with us. Let's go to Sandy in Ohio. Sandy, what do you got?
Hi, Dr. Drew.
Sandy?
I'm a conservative Christian, but I am very, very supportive of the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transsexual community. I honestly think that these pastors have gone way, way too far in judging, and they are inciting the hate crimes.
But Sandy, don't you think there must be a lot? I heard one of these gentlemen got a standing ovation when he came back to the church, and maybe that's just to support his right to speak up, or whatever that might be. But there's got to be a lot of people out there that support this point of view too, and I'd be interested in hearing from them. What would you say to those people, Sandy?
I'd say you have a right to your opinion, but you don't have a right to judge other people, because we, as a society, have to stop this judgment. Each individual has their own problem.
Well, okay. Now, Michelle, I believe, is my next caller. Michelle, let me go to you in Arizona. There's a lot of biblical literalism gets involved in these conversations. Michelle, what's your point of view?
I just had a question about, not really about like the ministers, but just about the biology and about just being gay. And you're a doctor, and I just want your educational opinion about that.
All right. So, Michelle, let me be super as clear as I can possibly be based on what is known. There's clearly some genetic biological component to homosexuality, particularly been shown in men. And homosexuality in men and women are slightly different. Women tend to be more fluid with their sexuality. Men tend to be more either or. There can be certain experiences in childhood that clearly can also contribute to homosexual orientation, but whether it's pure genetics or environment plus genetics or just environment, once you're there, you're there. And there's no evidence that it can be changed. In fact, one of the leading advocates of this sort of treating homosexuality has recently come out, I don't know if you saw in the New York Times, apologizing. He was a very important psychiatrist, and he apologized for putting people through treatments that clearly were not helpful. They were harmful because once that particular orientation is formed, it's a part of who that person is, and it's not something that's amenable to treatment. That's just